Hello and welcome to our video tutorial on adjective clauses. This is the second video in a 4-video series on independent and subordinate clauses. If you have not had a chance to go back and watch the introduction to subordinate clauses, I would encourage you to go back and do that now. Or if you get to the end of this video series and it's confusing, go back and watch that introduction. As always, we're going to suggest that you watch the video through, and if you feel like taking notes as you're going, just go ahead and pause the presentation, copy down what you need, and then resume the presentation. Let's start with the definition. An adjective clause is a subordinate clause that acts as an adjective in a sentence. The two important parts of that definition are the subordinate clause. Remember from the video introduction that a subordinate clause does contain a subject and verb, but it is not able to stand alone as a complete sentence. And then of course the other part of that definition is that it's acting as an adjective in the sentence. And probably from elementary school you remember that an adjective is a word that describes or modifies a noun or a pronoun. So these phrases with subjects and verbs will be modifying nouns and pronouns in the sentence. For the purposes of adjective clauses at the middle and high school level, all adjective clauses will begin with a relative pronoun or a relative adverb. Relative pronouns that, which, who, whom, whose. Relative adverbs when, where, why, since. For the purposes of this tutorial and for pretty much all that you're going to need, an adjective clause will not start with any other word except those 9 words that are listed there for you. Alright, let's take a look at how you will find adjective clauses in a sentence. Here are a couple of examples for you. In order to find those adjective clauses, we do want to go back and we're going to be looking for those relative pronouns or those relative adverbs, and we'll be looking for the subject and the verb and all of the other words that go with it. We'll get into more of that in just a minute, but I wanted to give you a chance to kind of see what a sentence looks like before we start labeling. As you can see in the first sentence, the dog lives across the street. That is an independent clause. It has a subject, it has a verb, it stands alone as a sentence. What you see labeled there in green, that bit my leg, that is the subordinate clause. That is that adjective clause portion. Remember that all adjective clauses must contain a subject and a verb, so here is my subject here, that, and my verb bit. I can actually take the adjective clause out of the sentence and the independent clause can still stand by itself. If you look at the next example, where is the girl who is standing next to you? Again, where is the girl is the independent clause. Who was standing next to you is the adjective clause. Here is the subject. Was standing is the verb. It can be removed from the sentence and the rest of the sentence will still make sense. And finally, on our vacation, we visited the house where Abraham Lincoln was born. Again, you can see the independent clause labeled there as well as the adjective clause labeled in green. We're going to go ahead and move on and look at some examples of sentences that we'll go ahead and label together. Alright, let's practice. Go ahead and pause the video here and copy down those sentences if you feel like you have that need, and I will be here ready to get started when you're back. Okay, let's get started. On sentence A, the building, which is a national landmark, was destroyed by the fire. Of course, we're generally always going to be looking for one of those first words, so here you can see the word which, that is our relative pronoun. That is going to be indicative of an adjective clause there. So which is a national landmark. This one's quite easy because it's set off by commas here and here. Here is my subject. Here is my linking verb. Which is a national landmark. It's acting as an adjective. What is it describing? It's describing the noun building. And there you have it. The building, which is a national landmark, was destroyed by the fire. Sentence B. The woman whose purse was stolen called the police department. Again, we're going to be looking for one of those words from that list, relative pronoun or relative adverb. Here we have a relative pronoun here. We're going to look for a subject and a verb in that clause. Purse is the subject. Was stolen is the verb. What is that adjective clause describing? It's describing woman. So whose purse was stolen is describing the woman. In sentence C, Areas where the flooding was severe have been evacuated. Again, looking for one of those 9 clue words for adjective clauses. We have the word where. Within that adjective clause, we're going to be looking for a subject and a verb. The subject is flooding. The verb is was. Where the flooding was severe, it's describing the noun areas. And then, of course, sentence D, do you remember the time that we camped outside under the stars? There is that relative pronoun there. We're going to be looking for a subject and a verb somewhere after that. We is the subject, camped is the verb. That we camped outside under the stars is describing time. Now if we look at those sentences and we go back and actually I just changed the color of the highlighter and we take out the adjective clause in every sentence. I'm just going to highlight in sentence A. It's actually a light highlighting, I apologize for that. The subordinate clause has been removed, so let's look at the independent clause, or essentially the simple sentence. The building was destroyed by the fire. Makes sense. In sentence B, again, let's go ahead and take out the adjective clause. In sentence B, the woman called the police department. Again, independent clause, simple sentence. Sentence C, where the flooding was severe. We sort of remove that from the sentence. What we're left with is areas have been evacuated. Again, that's got a subject, a verb, a complete thought. That's my independent clause or my simple sentence. And finally, do you remember the time that we camped outside under the stars? Let's go ahead and take out that adjective clause as well. And just make sure our sentence still makes sense there. And do you remember the time? Of course, simple sentence. Okay, now it's your turn to practice. I've selected 3 sentences from 3 popular novels. Go ahead and copy these sentences down. Try and identify the adjective clause in each sentence. Remember to focus on words like that, which, who, whom, whose, when, where, why, and since. And let's see how you did. Alright, let's check your answers. Here we go. The adjective clauses are labeled in purple. The independent clauses are labeled in black. Those can stand by themselves as a complete thought, as an independent clause, or as a simple sentence. Congratulations, that's your tutorial on adjective clauses. Until next time.